All right. Good afternoon if you're tuning in live. And hey, if you're in Richmond driving around or working at your desk, hey, welcome. I am Mike Asherbranner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector and proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business Community. And you are tuning in to Mike King Biz Radio on ESPN RVA 106.1. Oh, my goodness. We're going to get right to it today, folks, because man, we're going to talk about transforming fear into success with Brian Muka, all right, former Navy Special Operations Lieutenant and bomb tech. All right, he's transformed his battlefield experiences into a revolutionary approach to personal and professional development. And I am fairly new into this. I've had some experience with Brian, so I am super excited to get this party started. And in true Hounds fashion, there he is, Mr. Radio Voice, first on the scene. Royce Blake, thank you, my friend. Hey, this guy is radio. All right, so go check out Royce Blake on LinkedIn. Let's get this party started, y'all. Yep, Papaw's trying to find the buttons. Y'all know how it is. We have a good time here, guys.
Looks like your business might be in a bit of a pickle. Don't you worry about a thing. You ain't alone in this. You're just a success story waiting to happen. Trust me on that. Every bump in the road is just an opportunity wearing a clever disguise. Welcome to the Hounds of Business Community, where we don't just sit around twiddling our thumbs. Nope, we turn those obstacles into mighty fine stepping stones. This here's a place where high-level entrepreneurs and sharp professionals gather to grow their businesses and mindsets, kind of like how a good old gumbo needs the right ingredients to be something special. Ideas thrive here, and collaborations, well, they're as natural as sweet tea on a hot day. Success, it's a journey, and we're fixing to walk that road right beside you. Now, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn for all the latest tips and insights. We're talking about the kind of wisdom that'll keep you ahead of the game. And while you're at it, head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got ourselves a treasure trove of videos, from expert interviews to webinars, everything you need to stay sharp in this fast-moving world of business. The Hounds of Business Community? Well, we ain't just a network, we're a movement. So why not come on and be part of something bigger? Join us today and let's turn your business journey into a real Southern success story. Together, we'll achieve greatness, just like crawfish and singing on a Friday night.
Crawfish and singing on a Friday night. Let's wait. Without further ado, let's bring Brian up, my friend. Hey, first and foremost, thank you for your service and sacrifice, man. I know Mike King is Army. Thank him as well. He's going to love this episode, as is all the folks tuning in right now, man. It's so great to have you. And as folks pretty much know, right, credibility and likability is at the very top of my list when it comes to folks I work with, partner, and collaborate with. So it has been a joy, man. I'm super excited to share you with the rest of the world, man. So welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. Thanks for having me. And thanks for having something worth defending.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Hey, freedom isn't free, man. It comes at a price, brother. So I tell you what, let's get into it, man, because, you do have a special forces background, right? And there's not, I'm 8 years firefighter. So it's not too often where somebody takes on a career, that faces that life or death situation, quite frequently. So if you don't mind, give us a little backdrop, whatever you're comfortable with. But really what I want to know is, man, how did that shape your understanding of the difference between terror and fear?
Yeah. So I was confused about that for a really long time, believe it or not. And so I'm going to share maybe the scariest moment of my military career. It was in training. And so we had just finished 28 days of military freefall school. So I was in Southern California, right near the Olympic Training Center, Skydive, San Diego is what it's known as, military freefall. And so we graduated with 5 nighttime skydives. And so that involved, five times jumping out of an airplane, not being able to see the ground because it was dark. Oof. And it was quite an accomplishment to graduate that. Next day, we went to get our civilian jump licenses. And so you got to jump out and you got to do these practice touches. The drogue chute is in the bottom instead of the ripcord in the front. That's an important detail for later on in this story. So I do the touches, and there's a fun story with one of the skydiving instructors in there. She owes me a case of beer still. And so there's 8 of us that were like really stoked about being military free fall qualified. We got like gold jump wings, and we just enjoyed it, So we all pile into the sky van, get up to 13,500 feet. The jump count is 1, 2, leap on 3, and there's 8 of us. I was hanging on the outside of the airplane, and we come through the slide. We're flying over top of each other. It's like Peter Pan in the sky. You know what I mean? So you get to 6,000 feet. That's the jump altitude to get into some clear airspace. So I Superman out. I go to clear because I'm about to pull. I got to pull my ripcord. I missed. I go again. I missed. I go a third time. I look down. There's no ripcord, Mike. And those mountains in Mexico are now taller than I am from the ground.
No way.
And yes. And I puckered. I don't think I've ever been more puckered in my life. And I went like this. Oh, I'm in a sport rig. Drogue chute's in the bottom. I threw the drogue chute out. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. That parachute was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life.
I bet it was. Woo.
And I was about 7 seconds away from my automatic Cypress, the explosively operated backup parachute from firing. So if that had taken me longer than it did, there could have been 2 parachutes out, and that would have been a really good way for me to have left Earth early. But I sank to the level of my training, which was the breath.
Holy cow, man. So was that the moment, or did it take a little while, that pivotal moment where you're like, hey, I'm this stress thing, this stress management into business success, like when did that come about? Because that's a heck of a story, man.
It took me a long time, Mike, staring into the chasm, because my Navy career ended before I wanted it to. And again, this is still part of the difference between terror and actual fear. So for me, terror is like 2 minutes or less. Bullets are flying. Where I struggled was with like worry and unworthiness and shame and guilt. You know what I mean? And so,
oh, did I lose you?
I'm still here.
Yep, you're good.
Cool. Yeah, so it took me a lot of years to really unpack what I had learned in that. Like 2 minutes or less, I'm the guy. The 2 weeks, the 2 months, the 2 year type of fears of like not being enough was really where the juice was. And so I was applying the same level of reverence to fear as I had to terror. It's stuff that felt like it could end my life, but really it was like a 1 ounce piece of paper cutout. And I was scared of the shadow, looked like an 800-pound tiger, but really I wasn't scared of the thing. I was scared of the way the thing made me feel. So I was scared of the feeling, not the actual danger. And that became a really big line in the sand. Is this an illusion, or does this require my full warrior Jedi mindset to address? And often, there's a Mark Twain quote that I like. I'm an old man. I know a great number of tragedies, few of which have come true.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, man, because
I love that one.
I love and hate it. I've lived that for 40 years,
Yeah.
A lot of us do. And I really appreciate your openness with this, right? That's why we talked about and emphasized that background, because folks need to know, you're in dangerous jobs, you're in these kind of, high stakes and high pressure situations. But it's a human condition, Brian, right? Like,
yes,
you don't have to be in these life and death and high stress, high risk type of careers or situations to feel that stress. So I'm going to go a little bit different here, man. Like, when did this become your focus? Because I imagine with the military, that was the focus, and you were working through the fear and terror. But when did this kind of transition to business? And you help a lot of business people. You got a lot of good things we're going to talk about. But when did this kind of merge into? Was it when you left military and you got into business yourself and you kind of saw that effect? Tell us about it, man.
A couple things. So when I left the Navy, it was my boyhood dream, right? So there was a lot of heartbreak in that. I left before I was ready. My adopted Jewish auntie, she started out as my therapist. She then became my life coach. And then I got her flowers the last day that we worked together. And just to say thanks. And it meant a lot to her. And I earned an adopted Jewish auntie in that. Her name's Talia. And she had me read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And so the heart hurt that I went through, I knew I needed to alchemize into something useful. I knew that there was a reason that I had been asked to go through this. And so I started taking notes. It was probably the smartest thing I ever did. Started creating a field manual for how to address life's avalanches. So I had that as a long-term goal. And then my first civilian job was I was in medical sales. So I went from, running platoons, jumping out of airplanes, Secret Service missions all over the world, to managing Virginia and West Virginia. So I used to live in Richmond. So it's great. I'm glad to be back virtually in Richmond for right now.
Sweet. Hear that, Mike King? Hey, there you go.
And so I remember I was at an HCA hospital, and this is like the biggest medical sales meeting I'd ever landed thus far in my early career. And I met with the purchasing director, and she just asked, "Hey, are you guys on contract?" I'm like, "I don't even know what that means." She goes, "Look, I know this is your first job out of college. You should probably do some homework before you show up here next time." And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, right out of college, I served in the United States Navy. I was a bomb technician. I led troops in combat. This is my first civilian job, and I have done my homework. I just don't know what you're talking about. Will you teach me?" She goes, "In order to sell stuff into HCA hospitals, you have to be on contract." And I said, "Absolutely, we're on contract." And she goes, "I'm really sorry. You didn't deserve to be treated that way." And I realized that no matter what happened in these medical sales meetings, you couldn't hurt me. I was the most fit guy in every single room that I was ever in. And I also had the courage to say, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Right.
And these people took the time to train me in how to be an asset. So we're sitting on the same side of the table instead of the sales guy versus the purchasing director. You know what I mean? Oh, I just got chills on that. Forgot about that story.
Good. I'm glad I can make you reflect, man. So I get it. So this is for you, right? When did you start to see this as an issue? Like, people operating out of fear response and just kind of, all these things. First of all, what do you see in the business world, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs, like some of their challenges, and why do they kind of suppress it? Do you see that? Because you can tell I'm talking from experience, right?
We all, Mike, we all are, man. Like I don't have this cured for myself either. Like I teach this because I need to learn this. And at this level, I've learned how to do this for myself. And as I get the honor and pleasure, like we got a chance to work together over the weekend. And, so you're showing me edges of your journey that I hadn't considered in a while, And so what I find with entrepreneurs is it's almost never ability. That was the error of thinking that I had. I'm like, if I was a little smarter, my skills were better, right? It's not. It's courage. Because in order to have something different, I must do and be something different. And so, what was it like the first time, you went live on StreamYard on this radio show? Pretty easy, right? No, it felt a lot like terror. But when I run it through the matrix, is it terror? Like, can I die? I mean, I guess my computer could electrocute me. And if I die on a podcast due to electrocution, it was like, Final Destination stuff. Yeah. It was my time. You know what I mean?
That's not common. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not terror. It's, I'm scared of an illusion. And so what most people do, what I find most people, they ask this question, what's the worst that can happen? That's great. Show me where the brakes are. But spend the rest of the time that I have on what's the best that I can have.
Oh, say it again.
What's the best?
What's the best?
And so what I'm learning, this is more advanced, but what I choose to emote, this is some quantum mechanics level stuff, like the observation, the person observing the experiment changes it from the waves into particles.
Right. And
so the emotions that I choose to charge dictates for me what my perception of reality is. And so let me, does that make sense? I'm going to unpack that a little more.
Yeah. Real quick, because we got to do the halftime. Hey, Mike King Biz Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mike King. Dude, they love him so much. They put him on the Jumbotron during the games, man. This guy's all about pushing up his community, and we sincerely appreciate our partnership with the Hounds of Business, man. Taking this international, talking to some of the best, most experienced folks like Brian Muka here, guys. And by the way, You can find him. The easiest way, if you don't have pen and paper and you're driving around, is at Brian Muka, Muka. So brianmuka.substack.com. All right, go check it out, brianmuka.substack.com. And hey, HOB, look, this is how we roll. This is who we roll with. All right, people have a desire to make impact in this world through your business, but you won't. Most of us won't, because we don't have the people, support, and resources to get it done. That's where we step in, guys. Come be a part of this ecosystem with amazing folks on the stage and the comments. So yeah, go ahead, brother. This is about you. You dive in, because I'm a new student, but I'm telling you guys, if it felt weird, it sounded a little weird. It was kind of outside of my wheelhouse, this intuitive breath work and all this. But boy, I have seen tremendous value already by kind of refocusing my priorities, my thinking, and really internalizing this stuff. So I'll be quiet. Fill us in, brother. Tell us what you need.
Well, so play with me a second here, Mike. Let's pretend you and I are high-fiving, right? So, right hand up, boom, high five, right? Boom. The way that our mind is able to do that is I must project a quarter second into the future so that our hands actually hit when we intend them to hit. Agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Our nervous system is too slow to hit a baseball. So right in that, I'm projecting ahead a quarter second. So that means that my past stories, the information that I fed to my subconscious mind is projecting a quarter second forward. So therefore, what I decide is true is actually true, right? It's the Henry Ford quote, if I think I can or I think I can't, I'm right.
Yeah.
So that's the internal. What if Mike's an enemy of mine, and he's trying to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about on this interview. That's not your intention, but that's what I put into my quarter second, right? So the more stressed I am, the less I see, and the more the outside world looks like a threat. And the number one thing I see with entrepreneurs, in addition to confusing the ability versus courage, is that the outside world is so much more well-equipped and prepared than I am. So overestimating the outside, or overestimating the competition, and underestimating myself. That's part of that quarter second. It's not true. At the very least, they're equal. So within, so without. 50-50.
Yeah. Hey, most of us, if we're being honest, you don't have to say it out loud, but that's how we felt. That's how we feel. We have crap and false beliefs and all this stuff that we pull. And you know me, man, I'm all about it. I'm like, hey, yes, we need marketing and business plans and skills, but man, those things amplify like no other when you get your internal right, man. When better understand who you are, you're more comfortable, you're shedding all that nasty stuff that we don't want to carry around anymore. Someone else told us to carry it around. So when you talked about projection, man, that was probably the most logical, reasonable thing. But here's what I like about this, because at first, woo-woo and words I didn't know, but no, that's not it. It's internalizing it. It's one thing to know it in the head knowledge, right? I could read a Brene Brown book, think I'm okay. It's another thing to really dive deep into that journey and really uncover these things. So they're gone. They're not hanging around, and you're not, right, constantly fighting. So explain that a little bit, because we have busy lives as entrepreneurs, and we're in our own way, right? So what are some of your revelations here? What is some story, that you have used to help people through this? Because we are stopping ourselves from success, correct?
100%. Let me tell a story from Bob Proctor. He wrote a book, You Are Born Rich. And it's this little 7-year-old kid. And he's in the backyard. He's got his baseball, and he's, setting up the World Series. It's the bottom of the ninth. Little Timmy's up to the plate. Here comes the pitch. Mighty swing. Strike one. All right. So here we are again. The count is 2-1. Bases loaded. Little Timmy's up to the plate. Winds up. Big swing. Strike two. And now the count's full. It's 3-2. Little Timmy's up to bat. Moment of truth. He swings. Misses. He doesn't miss a second. He goes, dang, I'm a better pitcher than I thought. Didn't waste a second. And so here's how all this applies. If I think I'm a failure, I'm a failure. I was just reading Neville Goddard, The Feeling is the Secret. I should never go to bed feeling like I'm a failure, ever. Because for the next 8 hours, my subconscious mind has just been programmed, I am a failure. So I'm going to strike that. I'm going to remove that from my conversation, because I don't want my subconscious mind to ever hear that, because that's not true. So if I feel the failure thing come up, what I must do then is take a breath. Breathe right into the tension in the throat, in the chest, in the face, wherever it feels the tightest, and breathe right into it. And I promise, if you can make that a habit, breathing directly into where you feel the resistance, where I feel the resistance, the feeling goes away. And I'll give you a real example. Like my life in Florida just ended 60 days ago, and I missed the beach. I missed that life. But I don't get to dwell on that shit. And sorry, I don't get to dwell on that anymore. And so I don't want to weep. I don't want to have regret either. So how can I focus on where I'm going instead of where I've been? If I can curate my hypnotic rhythm of my thoughts, my whole life must change. My thoughts are the creation. I can prove it. Every single thing. Like if you're driving right now, look at the bridge, look at the trees, look at the buildings. All of those things existed in the imagination first. And now, I can see them. You can see them. My whole life works like that. So if I'm feeding terrible food into the ecosystem, I'm going to get a terrible meal. You got to interrupt the process.
So this is about perspective. It's not weird. This is about getting our perspective right, or our internal right, because a lot of people out there, they're very successful in business and other aspects of life. But let's get real. We think we're the only ones, right? Especially when you go to social media, right? Everybody's perfect and they show all the perfect everywhere. But listen, this is what I found, man. Most people are just better at hiding it than I was. And that's where you come into play, right? So walk us through a little bit, because, people aren't going to say it, but I will. What are some of the things that you have going on? So you have group coaching, things like this, one-on-ones, resources. If someone say, hey, you know what? I know I can do more. I've got it in me. How do I tap it out? How do I access this? How do I shed all that old, no longer needed self-beliefs and stuff? What do you offer them?
I mean, step one, you just did it. In the observation of the thing is its change. So 95% of my thoughts are operating in a subconscious level. So if you're listening to this radio show right now, who's driving your car? It's your subconscious mind, right? Most of us are allowing the subconscious mind to drive my life, your life. What if I don't like my life? Like if I ever want to see what I believe in, all I have to do is look around. I have a great relationship. I live in a beautiful house. That wasn't always true, And so I had beliefs where I thought I deserved those things. So I had to interrupt those. So step one is the awareness. It's not my preference. So from there, you can come and hang out for 7 days as a guest in my Invincibility Dojo. I do that every morning, 9:00 Eastern and 3:00 in the afternoon. You're welcome. That's that link. redpillpathway.com/freedom, FREEDOM, Sherpa, SHERPA, redpillpathway.com/freedom Sherpa. That's where the guest pass is. You can read a little bit more. I wrote a book called Your Secret Superpower. So if you're the type you want to read and journal about it, head over to Amazon and get yourself a copy. I wrote it for you. And then if you want something more bespoke for you or your team, I do one-on-one or group type offerings. All kinds of different ways, depending on how much support do you think you want. And let's just have a conversation. Come meet the team, those types of things. And the number one thing I found that kept me from the success that I wanted was I tried to do it alone. I can't see what I can't see. Right. So I teach my inner circle how to do all of this stuff. Why? Because I need it. I'm not done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like chiropractors don't crack their own necks, right? Like we all need teacher and student, right? That's
right. But when we come together and admit, I'm not the only one that struggles with unworthiness. That's one of my hydras that guards the cave of wonders. And so I have a team of people that I can share that with, that I've trained how to show up for me the way that I need it to. And I think that's the ultimate courage is hey, Mike, I need some help. It's heavy today. It's loud. The voices are loud. And I need you to grab my pack. And then for me to catch a breath and some water while I keep surging forward. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this is why I'm drawn to it. So you and I are both founding members of that redpillpathway.com, right? / Freedom Sherpa. And guys, if you're driving around and you're like, what? Look, you go to YouTube. It's Hounds of Business on YouTube. You can go back, pull this out in the description on the screen. Just find it. But this is what it's all about, trust to me, right? And you earned that with me very quickly, which is not well. That doesn't happen often. But that's what I mean, man. Stop with the whole, whatever's blocking you. For me, it was, the country guy, the manly stuff, whatever it is. Hey, step out your own way. Be open. Be open. You can always say no if it ain't your cup of tea to learning new things. But I'm telling you, I don't mess with goofy. I mean, this has been very fast, being an experience, learning some basic things, and just having someone to soundboard things off of. Someone who like Brian, who can challenge my, some of those false beliefs that I don't even want to keep, wasn't even aware of, right? So this is what I mean. If you're trying to be a better dad, person, right, a business person, it doesn't matter. That's why Red Pill Pathway, that's why we're putting this together. That's why the Hounds is so excited, because this is people who want to go next level. We want to make an impact. We want to leave a legacy. We've been there. And now we don't want to see other people fall off the cliff, right? We failed more times than they've tried, Brian. And that's what this is all about, So anything that you want to leave the folks, I tell you what, let me ask you a question. And man, we got to have you on the Hounds of Business on the flagship show. This is just not long enough, but so some people feeling overwhelmed out there. I mean, this year, lots of folks, man, sickness and all kind of, challenges and things going on. So they may have done lengthy meditation practices or been turned off. What's one simple technique that folks can start right now, today, or in the morning to really get this before they reach out to you?
Yeah. So, I'm just going to assume most of you listening either drink coffee or tea in the morning. Is that true? I know it is.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So just imagine you grabbing your coffee cup in the morning, and really feeling it. What's the texture? How hot is it? Those types of things. And then go ahead and bring the mug up I'm going to go ahead and bring the mug up into my nose. And I'm going to take a deep breath in. And I smell this beautiful mango green tea that I had just enjoyed. And I'm going to take a sip of that. And I'm going to swish it around in my mouth and get the taste. And I'm going to swallow it. I feel the warmth going down my esophagus, into my stomach. Just take a deep breath. So the more present I can be now, the more time expands. It's called Kairos time, if you ever want to look that up. And so just the daily activities that I'm always doing, especially drinking coffee or tea, if I can be present in that moment, I can then start to be present in my breath. And I can start to be present in the conversations. I can be now, not worried about the future, not ashamed or guilty about the past. Right now, moment zero. It's as if I parachuted into my life. Today's moment zero, and anything can happen. I'm a phone call away from my life changing. I'm a kiss away from a better relationship with my wife, those types of things. So if I'm now, I have all the options. If I'm in the past, I'm a slave to it. And if I'm in the future, I'm in worry. So how can I be now?
Absolutely. Spot on, man. And I told you backstage, I've read a book a long time ago about mindfulness. It doesn't have to be extravagant. You don't have to have all these bells and whistles. Just take little steps. Realize, hey, this is helpful to me. And then take a few more baby steps, right? And they add up. So thank you so much for coming on, man. Again, thank you for your service, sacrifice, your background, the discoveries that you've learned, and you put these things together to walk guys like me around who don't have a clue, but we want to get better, man. I want to get better. So thank you for helping being that guide for me, many others. And guys, remember, go back to our YouTube channel, Hounds of Business. You can find it all there. We're on LinkedIn. Brian Muka, Muka. You can also find him on LinkedIn, or you can shoot me old school carrier pigeon, right? So I still take those. And then my gazillion-dollar camera I got for Christmas decided to go out. So, hey, I learned how to be relaxed and centered. Look at me not flipping out. So, hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being in the Hounds. Thank you for all the things you do for people. Yeah, you're a good guy, man. Happy to share you.
If you spot it, you got it, Mike.
Hey, birds of a feather flock together. So, hey, without further ado, Mike King, you're the man. Folks out in Richmond, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, the more the merrier. We're just getting started in the Hounds of Business, guys, and Red Pill. So let's do this. All right, no more doing this stuff alone. No more doing it the hard way. Let's go farm. Let's go attract. Let's go make things happen together. All right. We'll tune in next week. Can't wait for that one. And you all have a safe day. Hey, stay away from all that sickness out there, man. It's rough. And all right. We'll see you next week. Thanks, you all. Thanks, Royce. Thanks, Claudia. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.